What comes to mind when I say self-care? Do you picture yourself in a bubble bath, or maybe having a massage, or maybe you're going out to dinner and you're going to get dessert, or maybe it's just somewhere on a beach? You know, social media gives us a ton of tips for things that we can do for self-care. Things from facials to getting fillers, things from having a glass of wine to going to that party. You deserve it, right? But that's the thought process for most of us when we think of self-care. But what does God say about self-care? Are we allowed to have fun? Are we not allowed to celebrate with cake and coffee? Today, what we're going to talk about in this video is what self-care really looks like in God's economy, what he calls us to do as Christian businesswomen, and how we can get exactly what we need, exactly actually what we want, the things that bring us true joy and fulfillment. Join me. Hey there, wise woman. This is DeneenTB, your Christian business growth strategist and clarity coach. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I invite you to like the video and to also subscribe. So today what I want to talk about is this hyphenated word of self-care. You know, it has been popularized to mean taking care of you first. Even my own company name, Grow From Your Overflow, is actually derived from filling up you first so that you can overflow in your life in a good way. But how does God want us to really look at this? Where should our focus be? Okay, so let's start first by breaking down the word itself. You know me, I love a good word study. So let's look at the word self. Self. What is that definition? That definition is your essential being, your distinction from others. We have words like self-esteem, self-confidence, self-focus. Self is that reflection back to yourself. So here's another word, selfish. Ooh, okay. So is that what the Bible teaches us? Well, in Philippians 2, 3, and 4, it says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out for only your own interests, but take an interest in others too. So now let's look at the other word in self-care, the word care. It is actually a verb, and its definition is to look after and provide for the needs of, to feel concern, or to take an interest in. Now, the Bible does tell us that we already know how to take care of ourselves, right? In Ephesians 5:29a, it says, no one hates his own body, but feeds and cares for it. Okay, but if you include all the context of this verse, we actually see something very different. Because if you go from verses 28 to 30, you read this. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. No one hates his own body, but feeds and cares for it, just as Christ cares for the church. And we are members of his body. Now, okay, wise woman, this goes both ways. So I'm going to swap out this same verses, and I'm going to swap out the wives and the husbands. And I'm going to say it again. In the same way, wives ought to love their husbands as they love their own bodies. For a woman who loves her husband actually shows love for herself. No one hates their own body, but feeds and cares for it, just as Christ cares for the church. And we are members of his body. This care is actually an extension of self. In our natural human state, we already know how to do for ourselves. We already will do for ourselves. We will take care of our own self. It is in what God calls us to do that this really takes on a new form, a new focus, right? We're going to focus. Okay, so where do we go from here? We're going to actually shift from this self-focus on self-care to the God focus of self-care. Because let's face it, as a Christian woman, you're probably doing too much. As Christian women, we do way too much. We think that we have to do all the things for all the people at all the time. And that's not true. What is true is that we need to have the self-care so that we can overflow in our lives in a good way. And it's not about the indulgence. It's about a lifestyle. I want you to hear that, because in our society, a lot of times it's about the indulgences. It's really about the lifestyle that you want to create. Why? Because scripture has told us that our bodies, first of all, are temples. And we want to care for this temple because in Romans 12:1, Paul says that we are to give our bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind that he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. God does not deserve your old, worn out, overworked, tired, burned out self. He does not call you into that life. What life does God call us into? Again, Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27a, don't you realize that in a race everyone runs, but only one person gets a prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I am not shadowboxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. We're in a race to win. We've been guaranteed that we're going to win, but it is not a race that is designed to deplete you. It is a race that is designed to transform you. But let's be honest with ourselves for a minute here. And I'd love you to just put your thoughts around this down in the comments as well. We live in a culture that teaches us that we deserve these rewards. We deserve to take some time for ourselves. We deserve to make sure that we are happy. Have you been thinking this way? Have you given in to thinking this way? Or maybe you're on the other side of that spectrum. You've gone to the other extreme. You're doing everything to care for everyone else, and what you're doing to yourself is just burning out yourself. You're burning out your body and your brain, and you really have to shut down far too often. Either one of these positions is not God's design. God's design for you is to live a life that is pleasing to him, enjoying the fruits of your labor, and to have real joy. But I know we need some practical steps, right? So here's the big word. We've already said it, but you might have missed it. The word is discipline. Okay, I know you don't like it. You want to run away from this, but hear me out. Stay with me on the video. Thanks. It is about taking care of you so that you can take care of what he's called you to do. It starts with creating routines and habits that will give you that lifestyle that shows that you are actually trusting God for the results and not indulging in whatever feels good at the moment, aka chocolate cake or binging Netflix. But I want to tell you this. I guarantee that this type of discipline will feel good because you're living in a way that is fulfilling and you're actually making an impact. So let's look at your different parts and give you an actual self-care plan that is actually God-focused. You know, you're made up of your body, your soul, and your spirit. And you actually need to feed all of these parts in order to take care of yourself. For your body, it is those physical parts. You need to eat well, you need to drink water, you need to get enough sleep, you need to take breaks, and you need to exercise. For the soul, your emotions and your intellect, you need to be journaling, you need to be taking on new types of learning, you need to be managing stress. And for your spirit, your connection to God, you need to be reading and studying the Bible. You need to be creating that prayer life. And you need to take a break of a Sabbath every week. Actually, most of these are daily activities that need to be incorporated into your life. Now, some of these activities are actually interconnected. Things that you do like exercise each day are also stress relieving. Taking those short breaks during each day really helps you to make sure you're drinking enough water. It also helps you to recharge your brain. And then, of course, extending that into your 24-hour period off each week to rest. These are all things that are related to that self-care that God wants for you. Now, I can hear you now. You're telling me, I don't have time to do all this. I don't have time. You don't have time not to do it. Not to do what God has called you to do and be able to do it with excellence. Case in point, I have so many clients who consider themselves creatives. They have moved through most of their lives doing the things that felt good and doing things that inspired them. They've also had trouble in completing their projects, sticking with anything for too long, and actually being reliable without it costing them a lot. Most of the time they tell me it's their sanity. Discipline and routine were their answer, are their answer. I'm going to give you a quote from Lisa's own experience in what she did and what happened to her after she had created a plan for herself, that self-care plan, and she'd been following it for a while, but then it kind of got messed up. And she said this, I have gotten off my routine and I feel lost. I didn't realize how peaceful and more inspired I could be when I followed the plan I laid out. My mind is jumbled and my creativity is depleted. When I'm on track, I have more time, more space to do what God has called me to do. So self-care in God's economy is about taking care of you so that you can take care of what he's called you to do. It requires that you create a routine that gives you the lifestyle that is best for how God created you. Now, are you stuck on that roller coaster of I go to the point of crashing down and then having to yell, stop, 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 stop? Do you want to create a routine? Do you want to have a plan? Do you want to create something that will allow you to do the things that God is calling you to do in your business and in your life without compromising your health, both mentally, physically, emotionally, all your parts? Do you want to make an impact for God in all that you do? The calling clarity may be the exact thing that you are looking for. So let's talk about it. Schedule a call with me to see if calling clarity is right for you. This is a no obligation, free call. Click that link down in the description and make that appointment today. Because here's what I know. When you are in God's will, you have joy and you have fulfillment. When you create a plan that gives you what you need while meeting the needs of others, those God has called you to serve, it is something beautiful. Will you have fun? Yes. Will you get to eat cake? Of course. This is DeneenTB. Thanks for being with me. Make sure that you like this video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, be filled to overflowing.